Hi, this is Ashley Buttercup, and this is how I create.
Welcome to This Is How We Create, a show that digs deeper into the creative life of contemporary artists of color. Discover what feeds their creativity and how they found or are finding their artistic voice. Through these intimate and candid conversations, you'll gain insights into the lives of creative professionals of color that are hard to find anywhere else. Welcome back to This Is How We Create. My name is Martine Severin, your host. Today, I'm so pleased to have Ashley Buttercup in the guest chair. Ashley Buttercup is a Brooklyn-based painter focusing on capturing moments through portraiture and collage, emphasizing light, shadow, and texture in her striking works. Her storytelling through painting often features her best friends, historical icons, or local environments. As a gouache and acrylic painter, Ashley documents moments through figurative painting. In an interview, she says, "I am interested in the art of genuine, unguarded moments that unfold when nobody is looking. I've discovered that my most authentic self emerges in unscripted hours." So now for a little bit more about Ashley's education and where she's exhibited her work. So she has received her BA at Temple University, where she studied art direction and studio art. Her works have been featured in the infamous Macy's window displays in New York, not once, but twice. She's been featured in Harlem's Fashion Row, Apartment Therapy, Peg Austin Gallery, and exhibited in Japan, New York, LA, and Philadelphia. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Ashley, you grew up in Westchester, New York, and you've had sporadic trips to Brooklyn to visit your father where he grew up. Could you tell us a little bit about your childhood of visiting your father's family in Brooklyn, as well as growing up in Westchester? What were your early exposures to creativity and to the arts?
Yeah, of course. So I was born in Manhattan, raised in Tarrytown, New York. And then I have lived in Philadelphia as well as Brooklyn. My dad's side of the family is from Brooklyn. So as a kid, I just remember coming to visit my uncle and aunt during the holidays. Brooklyn has changed a lot. My family's from like Fort Greene, like Clinton Hill area. And my dad was an architect. He had his own business for a couple of years. And I believe he studied interior design as well to go with the major. And then when him and my mother moved to Tarrytown, my mother was in fashion merchandising, and also she did retail most of her life. And so both of them together have always just had a creative eye. So I was really, really fortunate to be in a house that was, I think, beautifully decorated. Lots of art prints that hung. And pretty early on, my dad would ask me my opinions on like, what do you think of this wallpaper? Or like, what do you think of this wall? Anything that was creative, he really trusted my opinion, and I would give him like, I don't like it because this, or like, I'd say this is really beautiful. And so he really, I would say my parents definitely influenced my love for her, or like nurtured it. And they would always buy me like art kits when I was younger. And then in high school, I went to Sleepy Hollow High School. I had really great teachers who I still talk to this day. Miss Dreer, she's super supportive. And she was, I would say, the first person to really make me believe that I was good enough to make a career out of it. And she pushed me to like fill out art applications for college. And I was, being in high school, I was pretty insecure about my skill set. And I think, yeah, she really, it's always stuck with me.
So is she's the one who influenced you to go to Temple then?
No, actually, I did take a little detour. So she pushed me to apply for RISD, which was, it was like the top art school in this country. And I didn't finish my application. I do remember like, I think one of the, because you have to take like a art test for some of these schools. And I think one of them was like to draw a bicycle. And I remember drawing the bicycle. I wish I still had it, but I remember drawing. I remember being in the art class and trying to get this done. And then I got accepted into Temple University. And I was like, this is the school that I want to go to. So I actually studied advertising art direction. And I was thinking about going into like the graphic design world. But I'm glad that I did study design from a business side. And then I also studied techniques. So I studied studio art, and that opened me up to so many different mediums. That's where I learned about gouache and abstract work and art history. So it really just like really grateful for going to Temple because it really opened my eyes up to all the different possibilities in the art space.
I'm curious as to why you decided that Temple was the school for you. What was it specifically?
To be honest, I didn't have too much guidance in the college application process. And I didn't really know. This is like before, I'm going to date myself, but this is before Google was really popping. And I just remember like Ask Jeeves, like looking up schools, and like it was really important for me to go to a very diverse school. And there are a lot of schools that were not diverse. And so I forgot, it was like something about the percentage of minorities that were attending Temple that really stuck out to me. And also it's like a very well-known school. It's a fantastic school. A lot of great people have graduated from that school. And then it was also far enough from my family, but close enough so I could just like travel back and forth, and like really happy that I went to Temple because not only for the education, but I really found myself in that city. I really matured and became a woman, and Philly will always have a little special place in my heart. It's my second home for sure.
I've never been, and I feel like it's one of those, I know, right? I feel like it's one of those places where you need to go to. It's funny. I texted my son today and I said to him, I think we need to go on like a trip together. And he still hasn't responded, but Philly.
Well, Philly,
but
okay.
I think Philly might be it. So you graduated from Temple. Can you tell me what happened next in terms of between graduation and really starting in getting deeper and deeper into your art practice?
So I think that's like around 21, 22 when you graduate, or I did after high school, I went straight to college. So I think I was around like 21, 22. Honestly, I was just trying to survive adulthood. So I got a job working I think I was doing like I was doing like retail right after college. And then Philly was also super cheap back in the day. So was thriving off that, really networking. And then I really wanted to pursue fashion marketing. And so I took an internship in Manhattan, but I was still living in Philly. So I would commute like once a week. I remember crashing on my friend Anire's bed. Like it's one of those stories that you'd like write in the memoir. I remember like crashing on his sofa, and like, thank God for him because he really took me in and allowed me to pursue this opportunity in interning at this PR agency. I got to do Fashion Week. I got to like see all of these designers come in. So that was really like wow, I can do this. It's like whatever I dream up, it's accessible. I can do it if I just start putting in the work. And then I landed a job at Gray Advertising. So remember, I studied advertising art direction. So I was kind of still trying to figure out myself, like what career path I wanted to do. And I actually started doing I think it was like project management or group assisting or something like that. It really wasn't, I was a very small fish in a large pond, so to speak. And I was doing that. I stayed there for like 4 years. And while I was there, I got to meet all of these really talented graphic designers from all over the world, which was really inspiring to see what they were doing outside of the advertising. So like most graphic designers have other side gigs or like do other personal projects. And that was really, really fun. And I ended up starting a printed art magazine called Snacks Magazine. And that was what kind of got me back into falling in love with my skill set and fine art. So I would put together this physical book. With my little money that I had, I would print a certain amount and I would do these pop-up art shows that featured these underrepresented artists. And I did about like 6 or 7 magazines on and off because print's extremely expensive. But that allowed me to, one, like feature some of my work, but also, again, network and meet all of these different artists and talk to them about their experience. It taught me curation. Like I literally was doing these pop-ups and, the first one is always like, I don't know. But by the time I got to my last one, it was a genuine, like in art galleries and like it really did evolve into this beautiful thing. And then also like the quality of print. I learned print production. I learned print production also through like corporate world, but like to be in charge of it and it's just you really learn like hands-on. You're in the thick of it. So like it was a great experience to have the magazine. And also just, like I said, starting at Gray and being surrounded by all these other creative people just helped kind of guide me into the direction I needed to go in.
Wow. So you worked at Gray and then you started making these connections through the printed magazine and you were learning curation and print production as well. At what point did you start creating a portfolio of work and thinking about exhibiting that work?
Yeah. It's been a journey. I mean, like I'm still, I will be forever a student, I would say. So I worked at many agencies, PR agencies. I worked in-house. I've worked at multiple different industries within the creative marketing space. So along that route, I met like so many different types of people. I think the pivotal point for me was just, I got to the point where I truly did feel like I have so much to offer, but these companies are not using me. And so after I stopped doing the art magazine, I was like, I'm just going to really just start practicing my own stuff again, get really back into it. And I started doing that, just like studying. And then I actually was like, I'm going to quit my job. And I just quit and I just had to figure it out. And so when I quit, I ended up working at a tattoo studio and I was doing like management there, artist management there. And during that time, I was also like, I'm going to get these paintings done. And then the pandemic hit and I was working at the agency. I was like, I'm going to start submitting myself to art fairs. And I had a couple art fairs and pop-up group shows. And then the pandemic hit and all of that was like no more in-person showcases. So I did do a couple of like virtual ones, but that still doesn't have the same effect as seeing them in person. But I would say the pivotal point was during the pandemic. And, this is really important for, I guess, other artists to hear, but like really tapping into your friends and your network. That's why networking is really important. And not just for the sake of just, I need this business card, but genuinely meeting somebody and becoming friends with them. And so as I'm painting, I'm using social media, like this is what I did. My friends started reaching out to me and commissioned me to do some of my first, I guess, professional paintings. And yeah, I would say like the first 4 paintings were purchased by my friends or family without me being like, buy my stuff. They literally were like, no, we're going to pay you to do this. And so that is the reassurance that I needed at the time to keep pushing. And then I started to, you can't really wait for opportunities. You have to really go out and put yourself out there, especially since it's a very oversaturated field, I guess, if you will, in the best way. But so I started submitting to like Saatchi Art Fair, which is the other art fair, a couple of other fairs, group pop-up shows. And so that pushed me to keep painting and keep doing, because I needed inventory and stuff like that. And like, I eventually put myself out there so much that I started having some people reach out to me for opportunities. So I still do that to this day, where I will look for opportunities. It's the business side. It's the business side of fine arts and being a painter, is you still have to like find these opportunities. But yeah, I would say the pivotal point was my friends really just keeping me on track and supporting me.
One of the things I love about having these conversations, Ashley, is that it all sounds so simple.
Like now,
it sounds like, oh, and I did this and I did that. But we tend to forget the messiness of life. And throughout all of that, you had a family, you have a little boy, and you're being a provider, you're being a mom, you have your day job, and you're doing all of these things, but yet you're setting time aside to create work because it's important to you. Can you walk us through your routine for setting time aside to actually creating work?
That's a good question, because I'm still trying to find ways to balance myself. And I would say, like, my dad has always said this, even when I was a child, and I didn't really understand this until now really was, he would just say something as simple as like, slow down, stop rushing. And I have a tendency to be like, I got to get it all done. Like, I got to do laundry. I got to cook. I got to get this painting done. Do blah, blah, blah. And if you kind of just like slow down, have a moment and put a list together of not 30 things, but just maybe like 5 things that you want to accomplish in that day, it's a lot more manageable. I am not to say life does kick in and sometimes you just got to do that. But like, I'm also going back to what I was saying is like, I would try to seek out these opportunities myself, and opportunities don't always come like every single day, every month. So when opportunities did come, I knew like, hey, kick it in. When I was doing Harlem's Fashion Row, I would say that that's definitely one of my it's a huge milestone that I had this opportunity with Harlem's Fashion Row. But just going back to what you said, it seems easy, but that was years of seeds being planted. I interned with Harlem's Fashion Row. Harlem's Fashion Row is like an agency or organization that supports Black and brown fashion. Well, let's say mostly designers, but like stylists as well, like people in the fashion space. And they work really hard to get people in these corporate spaces and just being seen. And so I interned with them probably like their second year or third year of them. And they were a baby. They were so small. And fast forward years later, I know the founder, Brandis, and I had sent her an email about like, hey, like I'm an artist now. If you need any, like, cause she's really good at always putting people on. And so I was like, and you know, I had a love for fashion. So I generally loved the agency, the organization. So I wanted to work with my friends. I wanted to work with brands that resonated with me. So I sent that email, and then like years later, she's like, hey, I have an opportunity. And it was to paint this coffee table book. And the coffee table book contained like such elite fashion pioneers. We're talking like Dapper Dan was in it. And yeah, just really some like heavy hitters. And I had the opportunity to paint them all. But going back to like, how do I fit that in my schedule? It was like to tell this story because it was about like 30 paintings that I had to do in a month. And it was like Christmas time. And I was at the time working at Amazon. I was leading some of their big projects like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So I was busy up until like November, and she gave me that assignment. And I was like, this is like a dream assignment. And like, I'm a mom. I have a young son. My son's 9 now, but like he was 7 when I had taken on that project. And you have to just get it done. Like if you really love what you're doing and like what things stand for, like I would rather dedicate my time to like creating things and working with people than like scrolling through social media and just doing like some mindless thing. I really just had to tighten up, and I would wake up at like 4 or 5 a.m., crank out a painting before I took my son to school, and then try to get through another painting the rest of the day. And so I really was up from like 5 till midnight or 1 o'clock. I felt like accomplished when it's like, oh, I finished this before midnight. Yes. But it was temporary, like I knew like just kick it in high, go full speed, because in 30 days, you're not going to be doing this, and I'm so glad that I took that challenge on, and like ultimately it taught me to paint faster and opened up a whole nother opportunity for me.
I mean, that's such a masterclass, right? That you're teaching yourself. So you learned to paint faster. Anything else that you learned during that time?
I still have to I'm still learning every day. And like, I think it's really important to be gentle with yourself, and like, you have to champion yourself, set parameters, and like be hyper focused. I'll be honest, like I'm not the most hyper focused person, but when it comes to getting something done, you can bet on me. I'll get it done. And that's kind of the reputation I've always had. It's like, if you reach out to me, we're going to get it done. We're going to figure it out. We're going to get this when I hit the deadline. So yeah, it's just about zoning in and just being gentle with yourself.
I love that. I think I needed that today.
Yay.
Being gentle.
Yeah, we gotta be.
Oh gosh. Yeah, yesterday I got up early and I was working, not super early, but by 8 o'clock I was working, and it was 10:45 p.m. and I was still going. And I was like, you didn't even chill out. There was a bit of a stop, but it was just go, 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 go. And I was fried, but yet I was pushing myself because there's a deadline I have to meet. And I thought, just relax.
Yeah.
Go to sleep. Yeah.
Sometimes you know what? It's funny because this morning I did send you a very early email. And like, I move like that sometimes, where I'm like, if I have something, let me just get it out. So sometimes I forget. I have like, my concept of time is not just whenever the sun is up. Like I really try to utilize all of my time. And like, sometimes that time means I need to sleep. It's really important to take a minute, check in with yourself. Like, did I eat? Okay. Go eat something. Have I been outside today? Go outside. And those small things really, for me at least, switch my mental a little bit. Like, cause I can definitely be like, oh, I got all these deadlines. But then you just like, stop. What do you need? It gets better.
It sounds like you have, and I may be putting words in your mouth, but it sounds like you have a sense of purpose in terms of what you want to do and how you're going to go about doing it. And as you said, planting seeds. Is that something that you learned from your father, from your family, or is that something inherently that you've always done?
Not necessarily something that I learned from my family, but I think it's just the way I measure success is I feel really successful when I can work with friends or I can put people onto something, and when I'm in control of my time. So my time and schedule. I don't want to say like planting seeds. I know I use that term, but I don't want it to be misinterpreted as like an opportunist. I think it's really important to just be human and interact and generally listen and engage with people and create. Like, I'm a creator. It doesn't matter what the medium is. I am a problem solver also. So like, if there's an idea, I think, why not? Why not? What do we have to lose? Like, yeah, I failed a lot, but like, at least I tried, and I feel like that's just been my mantra, I guess, or like how I move through life in general, is just like, connecting with people and, uplifting one another. So I guess that is my purpose, is just kind of existing in a space of just existing and moving with love. It's really that simple to say that. That's who I am. Sometimes life is hard, but we all have it within us to change how we're in control of how we feel. And not to say that I don't have bad days, for sure. I have bad days, bad moment. Every day is something, right? But it's really, I was just telling one of my best friends, it's really that bounce back. It's really just how you react and how you control yourself. And that was a crappy thing that happened, but it's done with now. Now I have the power to move forward and choose how I want to feel about something.
I was reading this weekend. I went to Baltimore to a conference and I picked up a book, and one of the chapters of the book it was a business book. And one of the chapters was talking about mental toughness, specifically thinking about athletes and people who have setbacks, and how setbacks aren't the end to everything. It's not the end of it all, but it's just a lesson. And I love what you just said, because it really does remind us that you have to be a little bit tougher in the way that you recover from setbacks. Because if you don't, then you're no longer living in your purpose, but you're just wallowing in pain. And it's not to say that you shouldn't have the opportunity to do that, but it's nice to really have a very good framework in your head in terms of how you digest bad times and bad days.
I mean, for sure. And some things are easy to get over and some things are not. Death, right? All of us have experienced a family member that has transitioned or not there anymore, but that pain might not ever leave, but you still have the power to move forward and find beauty out of some of these things. And again, move with love. And I always try to be, like I said, I keep saying gentle with myself. And especially now, whenever I get overwhelmed or I feel emotional about something, it's when I say gentle, I really mean just tapping into myself. Well, where is this coming from? How do you feel? What do you need? And you can persevere. It's really about trusting yourself. We all got it. We'll be fine.
Ashley, you talked about creating 30 new pieces for Harlem's Fashion Row. Can you talk to me a bit about how over the years, how you've come to identify your creative voice?
It's definitely, my voice has evolved over the years. And I think it's really, a lot of artists will evolve. And I think it's important to kind of switch things up and discover for me, part of being an artist is being able to play and kind of just have fun with it. So it's funny because when I was I'm taking my art seriously, I'm going to start submitting my stuff to art fairs, I was doing abstract work. And I love abstract work, but I'm not really an abstract artist. And even when I was in college, I was doing figurative work. And so I just needed to do something just to kind of play and get back into it. And so just going from abstract to doing portrait work, is what the heck? And then also, I told myself too at the beginning, I was I'm not doing portrait work. And that's pretty much what I do. And then I was I'm not going to do watercolor. That's so hard. And that's now the medium I use. I use gouache now, which is it's acrylic watercolor, a little bit more velvetier than watercolor. But my style has evolved because I'm educating myself on things and I'm just playing around. And so now I also I like to call myself a documentary figurative artist. So I like to paint a lot of historical Black figures. And that started because I wanted to educate myself on all of these amazing American Black trailblazers, and I started Visible History collection series, essentially, that was just me learning about my people. And that has evolved into like, having an opportunity to work with Harlem's Fashion Row, where they were doing the same thing, but in a fashion space. And so it's really important for us to honor and pay tribute to some of these people that have paved the way, because they literally were just, they're just existing. They're just being themselves and like trusting themselves and taking leaps. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. And then now what I'm doing is, I was also like, I'm not going to do any backgrounds. I don't want to do landscape. Now, if you look at some of my recent work, it now incorporates more like landscapes. It's still like people involved, but now I like to capture moments in Brooklyn of like, this is what everyday life in Brooklyn looks like. So like, I like to take walks and like, I see I try to catch like really sweet, tender moments and when people aren't looking. So like young couples holding hands. There's this one painting I want to do very soon, but it's like this father is like getting his daughter. He's like trying to get her into the school before the bell rings, and he stops to like fix her hair. And he's like putting a ponytail, and he's like really rushing it. And it's just so sweet because like this dad is like, we got to get this hair looking decent before you get into the school. And what parent can't relate to like, got to drop this kid off and he can't look up. They can't look crazy. So I captured that moment. My son thought I was being a creep because I was taking a picture of it, but it was sweet, So yeah, that's kind of now a lot of my work is very emotional for me. It's like my subjects are things that I genuinely like doing and resonate, and that helps me paint. It just helps me stay focused, and it makes me want to like paint this as beautiful as possible.
I love talking to you.
Thank you.
It's so nice. It's so beautiful. The way that you're observing life. And again, in the beginning, when we were reading your bio, we talked about how you focus on moments, and you like to document moments. And I love how you just shared how you go about doing that. So it sounds like you'll notice a moment and you might take a photo of it and then save that moment for later. What's your process?
Yeah. So that's exactly what I do. So I am an artist that needs to paint from reference. So like, I'm still working on like, that's a skill set that I want to practice, is like being able to paint from memory. I'm not there yet, but I do capture, I think Jordan Castile does this too, where like she has like all of her earlier work was her in like Harlem taking pictures, forcing herself to like be in the streets and getting to know her neighbors. And I don't necessarily always get to know the people, because I feel like we're our most authentic self when no one's paying attention. And so that's kind of my style of like, and I'll capture these moments, but you don't really see like too much detail of the person's face. But like, I try to capture a moment that like everybody can resonate with the feeling. And like, I actually did an art fair this year in LA, and most of my scene is very urban, like Brooklyn streets. And like, I took these Brooklyn street moments to LA, and the amount of feedback that I got regarding like, I know that feeling, like I know exactly what this is. And like, it's really beautiful. Like one painting that I did was it's my grandmother, my aunt, my uncle, and my niece and my mother. My niece was like, I'd barely 1 year old. My grandmother and aunt have since passed away, but I captured this moment. It was the last time I actually saw my grandmother, and her two daughters were sitting in her living room, like on the floor, just like looking up at her. And like, I think it's titled Grandma's House or something like that. And it just, the amount of people that stopped by to like, I resonate with this picture. I remember what my grandmother's house smells like, and like the curtains and the candy, or like her perfume. And it's like most people have this matriarch that like holds down the family. So that's my goal with some of these paintings, is to just kind of spark some sort of joy in all of us, joy and love in all of us, in the simplest moments. Like literally they were just sitting on the floor talking to my grandmother. The dad was literally just trying to get his kid to school, and there's a lot of beauty in some of these things that we're not paying attention to.
It also sounds like your art director self comes up to play as well.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I mean, the best ads are usually the ones that are like emotionally triggering. So yeah, maybe
the ones that feel real.
Yeah.
At this point, I'd love to talk about your sources of inspiration. Are there some artists whose work you return to over and over?
Yes, there are tons of artists every day that I meet. And also just not artists, just seeing people create, and musicians. I get so inspired by people's drive as well. And I get inspired by my friends and family, just again, I'm really drawn into sweet moments. So even just being inspired by some of my friends who are mothers and seeing how gentle and tender they are. I guess I use Instagram for a lot of my inspiration. If you go to my feed, it's a lot of artists, a few artists right now. I mean, there's so many. I like Alvin Armstrong. He's a figurative artist, very large scale, but he does these quick in-person portraits of people. And I feel like he's just capturing moments and capturing essence, because it's really not a super high detailed portrait. I would say also Joseph Lee. He's also a figurative artist, but also does it's kind of abstract-y, really inspiring because he plays a lot with texture in his paint. I have my friend Otha Vaccine. He does hyperrealism collage work. So it looks like his paintings look like they are ripped out of magazines, but he actually is painting them. I had the opportunity of meeting him when I was doing my Snacks magazine. So many years ago, and we just met this year in person because he's in LA. He's great. It's been a blessing to be able to watch his journey. Then I also have another friend, Miss Billy Joe. Went to Temple with her. She does right now. She's doing 3D pop art. The only reason why I say pop art is because of the colors that she's using, but she also does figurative work. She's did a lot of political work. And I actually learned a lot about what was going on in the world through her work. But yeah, every day I'm inspired by people and things. And I'm a forever student. So even inspired by this podcast, this takes a lot of work to put together, and you're killing it. And it's so professional and clean. And there's inspiration that we can pull out of everything.
I think one of the things that's really surprising is how inspirational the podcast is, and how much I think I've grown as an artist through the process of interviewing and listening to these discussions, because we're having this discussion, but I'm so in it that there are some things you say here and there that I think, oh my gosh, that's so good. But then when I listen to it a second time and a third time, each time there's something else that pops up. And it's almost as if conversations with you and some of our other guests, it's like going to a wishing well. You wish for something, and then I listen to an episode, and that thing, or I talk with you, and that thing that I needed comes out of our interaction. It's really interesting how.
No, I agree. And
that often happens.
Yeah, I've been listening to some of the previous episodes as well. And sometimes you receive information that you're I wasn't even thinking that, and now it's sticks with you, and you can become a better person because this person said this thing. So I think it's really important to have conversations. And, I was using the term network, but it's so much more deeper than network. It's literally about connecting and learning from one another.
It really is. That's you've just said it.
Yep.
That's what it's all about. I guess one last thing I wanted to ask about is for you to tell me about the traveling shirt.
Yes. Oh
What's
my
that all
gosh.
about?
So yes. It's a new project, or I started this project this year. So remember I was talking about my visible history project. So that's been a couple of years since I've been doing that. And that was all about like me educating myself about like historical Black figures, like Shirley Chisholm, Mae Jemison, Langston Hughes, just like all diving deep into some of these people. And so I was working at the time with my cousin who has like a print shop. And I was like, well, it's more than just me painting. I want people to like take what I'm learning and like go have a conversation. So I was printing them on t-shirts, selling them. People were buying them. And then this year I was trying to be more sustainable and being like, well, how can I make this even more special? So I took one shirt and I like hand sewn like all these different portraits, of like Odetta, Shirley Chisholm, like all the people that I've done. And I challenged people to, it's a unisex shirt, just to travel and wear it and talk about it. And a lot of people have signed up. I started this in June and it's pretty much booked out till like February right now. And so people wear it, they travel, they take pictures, and I post about it. My favorite stories are when like we had my one friend, Emily, I believe it was Emily, and she has children and her daughter was very interested in the project. That's what it's about. It's like teaching our youth specifically about like, hey, these people existed and look, this person looks like you and you can do it. So she was very interested in the shirt. And then I also have my neighbor who's very I think she wore like the Ruby Bridges shirt and they were so proud of wearing the Ruby Bridges shirt. And like I think she was in kindergarten and she stood up and was like talking about who Ruby Bridges was. And like, that's the purpose of this project, is to talk about it and have conversation. So the traveling shirt has been to like Greece. It's been to Spain. It's been in Westchester. It's been in Colorado. It's been like, and again, it just started like at the end of June. So like right now it's in Brooklyn. So it's kind of making its way through all the different neighborhoods. And then I will probably send it to New Jersey. Super fun project. It's kind of like I like to say it's like a historical traveling, what is Yaya? The traveling pants, the sisterhood of the traveling pants, right? Where they all kind of
the sisterhood of the traveling pants.
Yeah. Where they just kind of borrowed the pants and like wore it and felt beautiful in it. And yeah, that's the shirt.
Well, Ashley, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. I had such a fun time talking with you and learning more about you and your process.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Like, an honor to be on here. So thank you even for thinking of me. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you as well.
Hi there. I have a quick favor to ask you before you go. If you're loving this show, would you mind taking a quick second to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite go-to podcast app? Here's the thing. Those reviews are like magic fairy dust. They help other creatives of color discover our show and tap into their own artistic superpowers. While you're at it, why not subscribe to our Substack newsletter, Creative Matters? Creative Matters is like a weekly dose of inspiration delivered straight to your inbox. You can find the link to subscribe in the show notes. All right, that's all that I have for you today. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Bye.